Okay, I think I'll stand up. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
So yeah, my name is Ashanti Abubakar. I'm Director for Business Development at WorkSource Montgomery. But first of all, thank you for having me here today. I see the turnout here. I'm like, wow, this is really, really nice.
Great?
So this is really great. So yeah, our CEO, Ellie Giles, she had a family emergency, so she called me yesterday, and
Was it
here I am.
yesterday? Oh my gosh, it seemed like it was days ago.
Yeah, so no pressure. I'm like, okay, boss, I'll be there. We're really happy to be here because WorkSource Montgomery is the corporate oversight, if you will, for the job centers across Montgomery County. So we have a job center in Germantown, we have one in Wheaton and another one in Burtonsville. So what does that mean? Well, we have a treasure of human capital. So in your industry or in the energy industry, what we understand is it is hard for companies to fill their job needs. And WorkSource Montgomery is about that. It's about job seekers seeking employment and companies seeking qualified job seekers. So the hundreds and thousands of men and women who come into those job centers every day, every week, all throughout the year, our job is to connect them to industries such as yours. So that's why we're happy to be here today. But of course, there are challenges in every industry, the least of which every industry, construction, IT, etc., everyone has a severe shortage. The unemployment rate in Montgomery County is 2.7. I think nationally it's something like 4.0 or something. So everyone is pulling from the same talent pool. But again, we have a treasure of human capital in those job centers. Our job is to be in places like this to make you aware that we have this resource, we have this asset, as well as other tools to help you be successful through state and county tax credits, maybe some federal assistance, etc. This is the sort of thing we do to help your businesses be successful. So if you have any questions, I'm sure at the end of the panel I'll be able to talk to some folks one-on-one.
Well, wait, you're not done yet.
Oh, I'm not done.
You're not done, because when I talked to Ellie, she said that you were going to talk about training and employing people in in-demand green job opportunities,
Yes.
ranging from natural resource management, environmental science, green construction, and urban planning.
Of course.
Do we do it fast or not?
I was just about to say that.
You didn't plan that.
I knew I only had 5 minutes and I didn't want to get the red card. But absolutely, there are a couple of folks in the room I think that we've already connected to about apprenticeship programs. We've been to Maryland National Capital Park and Planning, WSSC. We are open and ready.
Washington Sanitary Commission.
Oh, of course, yes. Washington Sanitary Commission. But we are open for business. I mean, our job is to take people looking for work, make sure they're qualified, give them the credentials, so that they can find work in your sector. Again, there are some challenges to that, particularly in areas like stormwater management. Sometimes the credentials that you receive don't resonate for what the job is, or, for example, in Montgomery County, there has been a number of certification programs in Montgomery County. Our job is to make sure that if you do business in Montgomery County, that you are aware that you are doing it in an environmentally friendly way. So the policymakers need to know that. Is that it?
Can I just add one thing here?
Yeah.
No, thank you very much, and didn't mean to put you on the spot, but yes, I did. Were you aware, I just heard Jim, you told me this today, that Montgomery County is the first county in the United States to declare, a planetary emergency, that climate change is an emergency, and I was just amazed at everything Montgomery County is doing in regard to moving to green energy. 100% on their county facilities. I know, Natalie, we're trying to move that way in Arlington as well. But it was really amazing. I just thought that's incredible.
Montgomery County is trying to make it so that, again, if you do business in that county, if you break ground, if you put in infrastructure, anything you do in Montgomery County, you are going to need to be in some way certified or credentialed in an environmentally supportive way. What we want to do is make that resonate over time, so that occurs now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, so that it's permanent if you do business in Montgomery County. So that's where we're hoping to go.
Okay, without any further ado, Teresa, welcome.
Yes, can I put it?
Do whatever you want.
But I don't know if the mic, okay, you have to.
It's on.
Okay.
It's on. It's on.
Oh, it's on.
I'll stand at the podium. Okay. Well, thank you, and thanks to Janine for inviting us here today to speak about our Green Job Development Program in the District of Columbia. I'm very pleased to be joined by two of my colleagues from the Department of Energy and Environment who are here to also participate in today's event. So I wanted to start out by saying the themes highlighted at today's event reflect the ideals of the district in terms of green jobs and the green economy. As indicated in the district's economic strategy, Mayor Bowser's vision is for the district to become the global model for inclusive prosperity and resilience, showcasing how diversity and innovation can stimulate equitable economic growth. And that's from DC's economic strategy document. A vibrant and resilient economy will be driven by private sector expansion, and economic prosperity for all Washingtonians will be achieved by increasing job opportunities and decreasing economic disparities. DC's economic strategy defines inclusiveness as ensuring people from all backgrounds, neighborhoods, and incomes are given the opportunity to contribute to, benefit from, and live in a prosperous district. So I lead DOEE's Energy Administration, and we provide a range of programs, policies, and incentives to facilitate the provision of energy that is clean, affordable, reliable, resilient, and efficient. And we do it in a way that not only saves energy and helps the environment, but also provides education, stimulates the economy, and promotes equity. We have recognized the importance of workforce development and green jobs in the administration of our programs. And in order to achieve our green job goals, we focus on job training, integrating technology and innovation, providing job readiness skills, facilitating opportunities for certifications, some of which are on the national level, and focusing on placement after a period of learning and apprenticeship. So today, I'll briefly highlight 3 programs that demonstrate our commitment to green jobs. These 3 are SolarWorks DC, the DC Sustainable Energy Utility, and the Green Zone Environmental Program. So SolarWorks DC, which I know my colleague will speak about in a little more depth, is a low-income solar installation and job training program that prepares district residents for careers in solar and related industries. DOEE and DOES developed SolarWorks DC, and we have partnered with Grid Alternatives to implement this program. And this program is administered at the DC Infrastructure Academy. Is this the one? Yes. This is a very important program for the district, as we are creating a specialized workforce and providing a pathway to the middle class. In its first year, SolarWorks DC has graduated 4 cohorts and connected trainees with viable, sustainable jobs in solar and related industries. SolarWorks DC has trained 100 district residents in its first year and graduated 78 trainees, many of whom have transitioned into permanent jobs with several entities. Solar for All mandate aims to provide the benefits of solar power to 100,000 low-income households by 2032 and reduce their energy bills by 50%. We also administer a range of solar innovation and expansion grants, many of which have job training and apprenticeship deliverables. Next, the DC Sustainable Energy Utility is a performance-based contract administered by our agency with benchmarks not only for saving energy, but also workforce development and green job creation. When we say green jobs under this program, we mean a full-time equivalent or FTE job that is held year-round by a district resident who is paid at least a living wage. We require a specific number of hours to create 1 FTE or a certain dollar amount to be spent by the contractor in the execution of this programming. The DCSU is required to create a minimum of 88 FTEs per year, and it has met this goal consistently. DCSU also stimulates the local green economy by having a requirement to work with the district's small business and certified business enterprises, which in turn provide job opportunities for district residents. And I see that red card, so I'll just mention finally, very briefly, the Green Zone Environmental Program, or GZEP, as it is known within our agency. It works in partnership with the Marion Barry Summer Youth Employment Program to provide over 300 youths and young adults ages 14 to 24 with an opportunity to learn about energy and environmental issues and complete community-based environmental work projects and prepare for careers. So there are many careers in energy efficiency and renewable energy. The concepts of growth, inclusiveness, innovation, and economic resilience provided in DC's economic strategy support our commitment to green jobs. We will continue to leverage technology in a meaningful way and provide education, training, and certifications to support infrastructure to facilitate the creation of green jobs. So thank you once again for inviting me here today. I look forward to our discussion after.
It's on red, you need to just press the side button, hold it for just a sec or two till it turns green, or?
Okay.
Yes, I will follow Dr. Lawrence's lead. Thank you for setting a good example. So I know many of you had an opportunity to read about all of our bios on the website. I think it's really important to just mention that the panel is a great opportunity for me to blend with each of the regional partners here. I grew up in Maryland, so technically I'm a Marylander at heart. But I heard that Marylanders never cross the river into Virginia, and I'm a testament that they do. And it's been great because I've had the opportunity to reflect on the region's role in growing the green economy, but just the economy as a whole. It's all of our responsibility to do well, and when each of us do well, we all benefit from that. And it's interesting because now that I'm in Arlington, I've been there for about 3 years. Cannot believe that. I've been there for about 3 years. And at the time that I came, and I want to just set the stage, and happy, Janine, for you to ask me more specific questions. But it's important to kind of set the stage on understanding why attraction and why local government's role in building attraction and bringing in business is key to also growing the green economy. And so around the time that I came to Arlington, it was dealing with a very high vacancy rate, hovering around 21%. Commercial office vacancy. That's pretty devastating, can be devastating to some communities. But I think you can see in Arlington's story that it's been pretty resilient. And I think resiliency in itself is a really great story to tell when we talk about local government. But at the time, Arlington was dealing with being one of the counties that was hardest hit by the Pentagon's decision for BRAC, which is the base realignment and closure. And you'll see that almost 4,500 federal employees moved out of Arlington alone, not to mention 20,000 federal contractors also moved out. So it was a pretty big hit. And what Arlington had to do, and by the time I arrived, was pretty much do a self-reflection and analysis on how to bring in business into Arlington. And so they had to strategize. How will we diversify? We can't just rely on federal government alone, which brings up our topic today, which is about the green economy. We've got to see what else is out there that we can bring into our community. And so when we're talking about BRAC, we're also talking about losing talent. And you mentioned earlier in your comments, talent is one of the biggest reasons why businesses choose your community. Where are they? They want to locate where they can find most easily that talent. So what we've done in Arlington County is also strengthen our partnership with the state. The state level economic development role is huge when coming into attracting business. And when we've strengthened our relationship with them, we've been able to partner in bringing in really huge prospects. And some of the grant funding that's on the state level does account for building up that talent base in the workforce. So there are incentives and grants on the state level that we also utilize to help bring in business. But then on the local level, we've also created this, I would say, fund, $1 million fund, to create and attract businesses within the tech community. And that includes clean tech and green tech. And we want businesses to come to Arlington and to show that they're growing and we're able to invest in them. We provide performance-based grants between $10,000 and $150,000. This is a one-time fund, so when the money is done, it's done. But it started around the time that I came in. We still are looking for great companies to invest in and to come into Arlington. And then another tool in our toolbox is Tech Zone. Tech Zone is when we're trying to build different neighborhoods and communities where we attract like-minded companies, like in green tech and clean tech. And the idea behind Tech Zone is to have those companies in certain locations or hubs be able to afford to be there. And how we do that is by slashing the B-poll tax. It's a special tax that's in Virginia, but especially in Arlington, and that reduces it by at least 50%. And then the other idea that we've had in the past 2 or 3 years, this is a new program, it's called Startup Arlington. And the idea is to bring in businesses that are outside of the DMV into the district or into Arlington, Virginia, to check out what is it like to really grow and expand your business there. And we provide some great tools for them to stay in Arlington for free between 3 and 4 or 5 months. And we work with our business community to put on that program. That's an annual program that we do. But overall, these tools allow us to attract business. And some of you may have heard about this really small company called Nestle. And Nestle is one of those companies where they're not definitely in that green or clean tech industry that you're gonna think right outside the box. That's a clean tech company. But Nestle actually is a company we were able to attract with the state, and they do have jobs that are within the clean and green arena. And I think that's a testament to seeing how a lot of these attraction tools can be utilized to help give jobs that are out there that are non-traditional in the sense of not being in the Nature Conservancy or the Conservation International or AES Corporation. Those are other companies that are well within Arlington. But I'm happy to talk a little bit more about what else we do to try to bring in businesses, and hopefully you guys will check us out.
Testing, 1, 2. Okay. Good afternoon, folks. My name is Todd Beezer. I supervise the Business Services Group at the Department of Employment Services. So I'm going to talk a little bit. I'm going to try to keep it within the 4 or 5 minutes that you guys are giving me, right? But I want to tell you about some of the incredible work that we do in trying to connect employers and businesses to residents in the District of Columbia to get them into sustainable jobs and careers, right? So our charter as a business services group to the agency is to go out and form good faith partnerships with employers that are doing business or operating within the District of Columbia. In that, we look to say, okay, so what are the opportunities, what are the challenges, and then primarily we're focusing on jobs, right? But if the challenges go a little bit outside of our lane, we make connections through our partnerships with sister agencies and community-based organizations to get services extended for those challenges. We've been working very closely with the Deputy Mayor's Office to identify some of the top businesses in the District of Columbia, to make these type of connections, to build these relationships,
and then to see if there's opportunity for employment and bridge some of our benefit programs to assist with lowering the cost of onboarding a resident or a new hire, right? So within that, we have a couple of programs, and one of which we just recently launched 2 weeks ago, which is called Work Experience. Work Experience program is where we are just connecting, it's like an adult internship. We're connecting residents to a work opportunity for up to 4 months. We're picking up the cost in a subsidy for that time period, and we hope that ideally that the resident would be, or new hire would be retained. If not, we're asking employers to simply give a letter of recommendation, right? The other program that has a little more traction to this effort is on-the-job training. So that's where we're reimbursing employers up to 75% for up to 6 months of training, right? And all eligible participants must be connected to Department of Employment Services and enrolled in the workforce program where we can provide these services at no cost, right? So the on-the-job training program is where, again, at the very end, we're hoping that, there'll be retention there, but we've set it up in a way where it's not a heavy lift for employers. The documentation that's required is very light, and we pretty much streamline getting that connection to district residents that express interest to participate. But again, this is to build the skills gap that employers are really challenged with to find district residents that can meet their business needs. The other program, which is more sustainable than the first two, is apprenticeship. So apprenticeship, as everyone is pretty much familiar with the model, has two components: related instruction and on-the-job learning. Any employer that's interested in becoming an apprenticeship sponsor should connect with myself because the Apprenticeship Council meets at DOES every other month. And that's where we have our apprenticeship program liaisons introduce potential sponsors to the council. And basically the council wants to really understand how you're going to implement the apprenticeship model, right? The real hook there is that at the end of an apprenticeship program, it's a guaranteed hire, right? So that's where you get to customize the employee for a couple of years so that they really know your business when the apprenticeship program ends. Now we're doing some great work because we understand that there's always this bridging challenge between residents and business. We start from the business and work backwards to connect to residents. And within that, we understand sometimes that the resident needs either some skills training, needs some work readiness training, or even some life skills training. And that's where we provide some of those services through our American Job Centers. We have 4 American Job Centers in the District of Columbia, right? So we put them in different quadrants of the city so that they're very convenient for residents to access. We have one center that we've actually combined with our new center called the Infrastructure Academy. And that's where we understand that residents really need training, right, to get their skills up. But it's a different type of training. It's not just classroom training, it's actually hands-on simulation training that we have, we have the space now where we can go outside, have residents climb up poles or just simulate an employer's environment, right? Because we have a couple of stakeholder partners, PEPCO, WMATA, DOEE, and that's where I'll bridge right into, because I'm getting the card, I'll bridge right into our SolarWorks DC program. Okay, so SolarWorks is where we are training up to, we had, I think it was about 100 people that we've trained up to this point, and they're doing solar installation training, right? So they're spending about 2 or 3 days within the week learning, in workshops and some job readiness, just learning the skills in construction and such. And then they're actually going out and doing solar panel installation at the Infrastructure Academy and at work sites for our employers, right? So we have a couple of employer partners that have already hired some of our folks, our graduates, one of which is Grid, right? So we have a young lady who was a graduate and now she's an instructor for Grid to work with some of our youth, right? We also have a young man who, his name is Drew, and And Drew, his dad was in the solar space, and he was a mailman, and he was kind of tired doing the same thing every day, all day. So he got interested in looking at solar panel installation. He is one of our graduates. I think he was in our second cohort, and he now is gainfully employed in the solar space. So we totally understand the opportunity that exists in the sector as it emerges in the District of Columbia. And at DOES, what we are doing, we are working diligently to bridge that gap and grow that business. So I will end there because I'm getting the red card, and I'll answer any questions that you may have.
Hey, loved all your remarks, and Natalie, nice too how you said to have regional cooperation. I think that's so important because sometimes it just seems as though various economic development offices are sort of competing against one another to try and track this. Are we seeing that a little bit with Amazon? And everyone's kind of vying for that little, well, I guess a big piece of economic development. So that's why I thought it was interesting what you're talking about, Natalie, too, kind of the start of the homegrown, to the extent that you can help those businesses as well. Do you want to make a point?
Yeah, I wanted to bring up that back to when we all do well, or when one of us does well, we all do well. And that kind of goes back to bringing Nestle into Arlington. So Nestle came, this is Nestle USA, when they came from Glendale, California, we worked with our regional workforce partners in Montgomery County, in DC, in Alexandria, and Fair. We brought everyone to the table to meet their HR executives because this was really a serious jump for them. So I think if we all operate in that same context of understanding that this is actually where regionalism does have a chance, when you do bring in businesses, there's ways for us to partner together and bring in the talent together.
I think Natalie makes a good point. When you look at stormwater management, for example, so stormwater doesn't just stop at the Montgomery County line. Or it doesn't just rain really hard in DC. Although sometimes it does. But yeah, I think Natalie raises a good point. That this whole, this entire effort, if you will, it's regional. It cuts across all geographic boundaries, across all political boundaries, across policy boundaries, and I think that she raises a good point. I think one of the things we could probably do better on is this sort of collaboration between what's going on in DC and Fairfax and Montgomery and other places.
Tim is listening.
Yeah.
You'll be reporting.
Yes, because these are, these issues are very complicated. And when you cross these lines, you run into issues of funding, you run into issues of again, policy. There are different political and economic issues. But I think this is a good way or a good start to drive that dynamic. Thank you.
Very good. Hey, can we get into some specifics? You gave me a list of 40 companies in Arlington, just trying to, and I love the point you made about it may not be a traditional job, because someone had called me this afternoon, and they were a student at Maryland, and they said they're involved in computer coding. Is there anything they could do in the environment? And it's like, I was talking to someone about 2 years ago that was doing Python, and they were trying to apply that to a solar energy company that wanted to use that technology. So it may not always be in flashing big lights. It's clean energy and sustainability that, as you're saying, Nestle and some of the others, I know they've been moving to do zero landfill waste with the factories and doing more renewable energy. And how we learned a lot of that information too is Glassdoor. I don't know if anyone has used that or not, but I just thought that was really quite interesting too.
No, you make a great point. Actually, Glassdoor, I looked at the reviews for Nestle. They have really good reviews.
They do. What good maternity benefits, volunteer. If you volunteer, you get paid. I mean, it's really wonderful stuff.
And the jobs in the green space, and you pointed this out to me, Janine, would be statistical modeling analyst, shopper insights manager. These are ways to still be within the green and clean tech arena.
Supply chain logistics.
But you're working for a health and wellness company. So there's a way to still look. Some other companies that I just wanted to point out that are in Arlington, For example, O-Power. They started out as a growing startup, and then they were acquired by Oracle, and they're still in Arlington. Yay! And they're even opening up new space. They're growing really fast. They have jobs. I just looked online, and some of those jobs range from program managers, engineers, database developers, and then of course,
Can I just stop for one thing? Do they still call themselves O-Power or
no, they call themselves Oracle.
Oh, it is Oracle.
But
Okay.
on the jobs, you can see that some of them are for O-Power versus just the entire company. And of course, if you want to make a difference in your own local neighborhood, all local governments have Department of Environmental Services, Department of Planning. Arlington is hiring. You can go online right now and look at some jobs within these agencies. We have like 8 that I just looked up online. And then
If you get a lot of phone calls.
that's fine. I'm happy to direct you to the right source. And then this is another way to look at it from a non-traditional perspective. But social entrepreneurship, wanting to make a difference or helping those who maybe don't know how to solve big problems in sustainability, you can find a lot of companies that work in the social entrepreneurship tech space. And one of those companies in Arlington, they're called Ashoka. And they have about 50 jobs worldwide, including in Arlington. You can work right now to make a difference in leading the social entrepreneurship and leading some of these policies around water, sewer, and all of these things. So there's some great things that are coming up in the pipeline that are already out there. You just have to look a little bit.
I would just add, to echo the sentiment of the more non-traditional, we've been seeing a lot of the more data-driven type of jobs, a lot of modeling. As you know, we just released a Clean Energy DC with a lot of really aggressive and ambitious goals. And we are looking a lot as it relates to grid modernization in the district. That's a very hot topic at this time. And for us to be able to make a contribution to making sure the infrastructure is located in the right places and the types of features that the new technology we need to have, a lot of the modeling, spoke of Python, and all of those things. Just sitting in interviews recently, that's the language that I'm hearing just more and more about, so I know is very, very important. And then also on the solar side, in addition to the actual installations, the whole market surrounding SRECs and all of the green attributes that go along with the actual hardware installation, the ITC and just the modeling for the national and secondary markets. Our staff members have been coming up to speed, and this is something we're also looking for as we are doing more recruitments, people who have that experience in that financial sector, but it's linked to the clean energy movement.
That is so wonderful, because I just talked to someone that was interviewing at Freddie Mac for financial work related to solar, and it's like, who knew? So very, very interesting point. Now we want to say something else.
Yeah, sorry. Just one more thing that I noted in my research about green jobs, and just in terms of calculating that employment data, according to JobsEQ, this is the database that we use to get this information. There's about 810,000 green jobs in Washington, Arlington, Alexandria region. And 46,000 jobs in green in Arlington specifically. So there are jobs out there. Just wanted to continue to push on
You
that
like to
point.
write? Maybe we'll get you to do a little blog article for us. That sounds really nice. Say those numbers again. 810,000 in DC.
In this region.
In this region, so the DMV.
The DMV.
And what was the source on that?
This is JobsEQ. I can give it to you. I can send it over.
JobsEQ.
108, wasn't it? Not 810.
No, 810,000.
Oh, 8,000. Really?
Okay, see? Okay. That's why I'm like, wow, okay, very, very interesting. So look, I'm seeing it's about 10 after 7. I know this is a very intelligent audience. I'm sure you've been thinking of some questions. Would you like to ask a question? Okay, I'm going to just start taking out. Okay, so why don't you go first, followed by John Craig, and we'll see how it goes. Do you need a mic?
I think I'll
You can
speak
project?
loud. I'll speak loud enough.
Are you sure?
Yeah, the question I have is, I hear that green job. So is there a standard definition of what that means? Is it a 10, tangential connection to something that's green or totally dedicated to a green company?
There is a standard definition, right? I mean, Ken Lambert, Bureau of Labor Statistics, you work at Department of Labor. So yes, and International Labor Statistics, I've got a report, I can give it to you afterwards or anyone that wants. It's like bing, 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 bing. I mean, I can find it right now if you want.
At some point, I can send an email and get that, but I'm interested in knowing what that really means and how you count.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, I think, it's kind of funny because I came from the IT sector. So green jobs is sort of resonating the way cybersecurity is. So every conversation we get into now, we hear cybersecurity. Everyone's caught onto that term, and it's being used in such a way that I think it's lost its real original meaning. So green jobs the same way. When you hear 810,000 openings or possible jobs, what that really means is they're overlaying that green umbrella across multiple industries. So green could be that I recycle personal computers. So I have a green job, although in reality I'm a technician who really knows how to recycle old computers, but that's considered green. Or green could be, the landscaping or a company that's developed new technologies or stormwater. It's such a the use of it is casts such a wide net that, in my opinion, those sort of numbers sort of don't really get to the true essence of what really needs to happen when it comes to hiring and training and educating people in this industry, because the umbrella is so broad.
Right, and you really hit it, because as I'm listening to this discussion, and personally, I would like to be part of this green revolution, but if this term is overused, then the inherent message of sustainability may get lost in the process, because everyone will put a sticker on them, I am green.
Okay.
And the purpose may be lost.
Yeah, and I think as well, the Department of Labor, Department of Commerce, and others, with their identified definition, I'm assuming one of the reasons for that, the government has to classify everything, and they can't do it unless they put a label on it. So again, it's difficult for us in workforce and in other industries to really narrow down exactly what something might mean as it relates to employment, education, etc. But I think most of the colleges and universities now are doing a much better job of credentialing, if you will, programs in this field. And then, of course, as I mentioned before, there are programs across Montgomery County, Prince George's County, Montgomery College, and others specific in this industry for people to be able to get employment after they have, went through certain academic disciplines. So.
You do raise a really important point, because I don't think there's a specific NAISC code for green jobs, and that makes it very difficult. That's what was kind of depressing, that the Bureau of Labor Statistics had a green initiative in 2011. They did it for about 2 years, and there was a budget sequestration. They couldn't continue. And if you can't really define it, if you can't measure it, then how do you know if you have it? So I think you're really making a good point. Just briefly, I did find ILO, they have 5 categories for green jobs: improving energy and raw materials efficiency, limiting greenhouse gas emissions, minimizing waste and pollution, protecting and restoring ecosystems, and supporting adaptation to the effects of climate change. I mean, that's just one definition out there. It kind of gives you an idea, but as you see, it's much more multifaceted than that. So, John, Craig, you have a question?
Yeah, thank you. I had a question for Natalie, please. I live in Arlington, and there's a fierce debate over there at some grassroots levels about whether the Amazon desire of Amazon Corporation to move their second headquarters to Arlington, is that a really good thing for Arlington, or are they deceptive in their presentation of the benefits? The other thing is, are there green jobs in that, if you know about this issue?
Green jobs at Amazon?
If it would bring green jobs.
Well, separately from Amazon, in terms of whether or not they're coming to this region, there is a sustainability section within that organization with jobs that are just about that. I don't know if I can comment on any of that right now. It's not decided in terms of if they're coming to our region at all. We don't know. So until that happens, then I guess I don't really have much to tell you on that front. I'm sorry.
So right now, we're hoping that they come to DC. And no matter where they land, they are projected to bring at least 50,000 jobs into that geography. So that's a very exciting benefit for anyone that lives in this region, if they land in Maryland, Virginia, or DC. But when you really look at their model, they have kind of perfected supply chain management, and they are now even more dominant and knocking on the door of one of the world leaders, UPS. Now, I'm a former UPSer, so it's kind of hard for me to say that. But because of the way UPS evolved to be energy efficient by using hybrid trucks, right? So when you look at green, to me, it's if you're environmentally friendly and energy efficient. And if we look at Amazon's model, to your question, they are bringing in, technology, drones, how to deliver service to the communities without really using traditional trucks and or vehicles, planes or such, to deliver these products to the community. So
no jobs at all.
It could be no jobs at all, but no, it'll be at least 50,000 jobs. But one of the things I think that's very important is that we all have these type of open roundtable conversations to learn what is really involved in this space. In cyber, we are learning every day that it's just not a technical opportunity for employment. There are so many layers to cyber, and the same holds true for green jobs. I don't think even though there's definitions, we don't really totally understand what defines a green job and what opportunities are connected to it, because it extends in other sectors, right? The creative economy, right? IT. We're looking at our traditional utility providers. So there are, there's so much opportunity. But we also now, when we're looking at employing people and connecting them to these opportunities, how are these opportunities presented, right? What is the language that's being used in the advertisement of the job, right? Because there has to be a blend between technical skills that are desired or required and competencies that build brands and build cultures, right? So we see where it transcends, and that's part of the work that we do on our end, because we have a job board, and many people go to like Glassdoor, Indeed, and they look at the opportunity, and then they self-select, right? They say, well, this looks like a great opportunity for me, or maybe I'm not even a fit for what they're listing as the requirements. But we encourage our employer partners to tell a different story in that job posting, because you're not telling about the business, the culture, the brand, where people can say, that's me, that's my character, right? I can connect to this, and if you can get behind an opportunity, it will be successful.
Can you give an example of that, Todd?
Absolutely. So every time I walk around and people say, that's the guy with the jobs, right? So residents come and they say, oh, I want to give you my resume, and I say one question, what is it you want to do? And then they say, oh, well, I need a job. I say, well, I'm going to ask that question again. What is it you want to do? Right? Because what I'm trying to do is get the passion light bulb to light up, right? So when you tell me what it is you really want to do, because you might be doing it today for free, right? So we can align your passion with income, you'll never work another day in your life. Okay? And we do this, and I do this on a daily basis, especially with our young people. I think I was right down the block at UDC, and a young lady walks up, and she's got a very colorful presentation. Okay, I'll say it that way. Very creative, right, in her makeup and art, her body art. So I said, well, what is it that you would like to do? And she said, I want to work, I don't know, I just need a job. I said, well, do you work today? She said, yes, I'm at Denny's. I said, so what is it you really want to do? And she said, well, I don't know. I said, well, let's go a little further, because I'm not hearing what I'm seeing. Right? So then she started talking about graphic design, and she started talking about, just the more creative side of her personality. I said, now that's what I'm seeing in your whole presentation. That is you. So let's do this. Let's get you aligned with some opportunities that really are your passion. And we did, and she was employed. We put her into cable TV. There was an apprenticeship program where they were looking to really bring in some creative folks in that space. And she went through some training. Now she's got a great job, and I don't see her anymore. And I did my job. So that's really what, when you hear us up here talking about the challenges, it's really meeting the individual where they are and getting that light bulb to go off. And if it goes off in the green economy, then we want to connect you to businesses that are in that space.
Okay, is anyone tweeting that? I love it. That is great. If anyone's live tweeting. Really,
And Todd, I think you also run into that on the flip side with the employer, is getting the employer to be able to articulate what their requirements are. Particularly with emerging technologies, drone comes to mind. We had a company that they were one of the first companies to develop commercial drones 5 or 6 years ago. Well, they needed drone technicians, but there was no job description. They couldn't articulate what you needed to do so yeah, sometimes it's hard, particularly in some of these industries as they develop, to determine what is over the horizon, so that the businesses can continue to be successful, but getting the businesses to understand what it is that they need, so that we can make those connections.
And that's a great point about drones, because for looking at invasive species in agriculture and for cleaning solar panels, I've been hearing, actually one of our leaders in energy members is really moving into drone technology related to sustainability, so it's really fascinating. Okay, so look, we're going to start wrapping up here pretty soon here, so we can get to the next panel about all these people that have found jobs, where the light bulb went off and it connected with the employer, and it's like, wow, fantastic. Yes.
One last answering question.
Oh yeah, okay, go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, for those of you doing workforce development as an employer in the area, can you give me an idea of what particular vocations that you're actually, besides the solar installer, that you're actually developing people for?
Okay, so our focus as an agency in the district is to target the high demand sectors. So that's healthcare, hospitality, information technology, security and law enforcement, construction, and transportation.
Green construction, right?
Yes.
Just couldn't resist.
And we develop for those same industries, because across the country, the high demand industries are what they are. But I think another approach that we use, we try to work with you, the employer, so that you can help us maybe through college partners and others, so that you can help us understand what your needs are, and then we bring resources to bear to say, hey, okay, well maybe we need to introduce new curriculums, or maybe we need to stand up new apprenticeship programs based on what you do. So we rely on you to tell us about the knowledge, skills, and abilities for your occupational specialties within your company. So, and I'm sure everyone, we all do this. So it's just customizing for your market and your needs.
But are you working more with the employer or the job seeker?
Both.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, both.
Okay, so managing, kind of like what you're doing with your job bank.
Yeah.
Managing on.
Let me give a little more specifics here. Okay, so in healthcare, we are partnered with the DC Hospital Association, and we've sat with all the member hospitals to get a good sense of what their opportunities and our challenges are. So we're working with them today to implement an apprenticeship program and have an on-the-job training program, and have the association act as a convener for all the members to enter into an agreement with the agency. In transportation, we're working with WMATA. WMATA really has a need for bus drivers, and mechanics. So we have kind of a three-way partnership with them. They've identified a training provider for CDL, which is over in Maryland. And we have this triage partnership where we're staging training at our DC Infrastructure Academy so residents can achieve getting their CDL. In IT, we're working with, again, a lot of the businesses, the fastest growing businesses, the most successful in the district. And that's where I mentioned earlier, we're working with the, partnering with the Deputy Mayor's office to really go around and get a better sense of, what are those opportunities? And that's where the cyber conversation is coming to the table. And then we've been sitting down with the DC Economic Partnership to participate in some roundtables so that we can get this conversation like we're having today a little broader, and getting some training providers like George Washington University and some of these smaller businesses and that might not really be in a position where they're looking to hire because they're in the growth stage, but they're just not really matured at that point. But then they have some other businesses that really are looking to get connected to good talent in the district, and they just don't know how to go about that. So we've been having dialogue in those spaces. So we are working diligently to penetrate in different sectors. When it comes to construction, if you look around and see most of the cranes in the district, many of those projects, many of those projects are under a first source agreement where that local legislation has a compliance metrics where they have to hire a certain percentage of district residents. So if you look at some of those projects like the wharf, or you can look at the new soccer stadium, we're in front of those projects and making sure that they are hiring district residents for all those opportunities. So that's where those employers that enter into those agreements, my program actually helps them achieve the compliance. Right, so we come in as a friend, not as an enemy, because if they don't meet the compliance, then there's a penalty of 5% of what was funded. So if you see a crane around the district, 9 times out of 10, they're probably getting municipal funding, and we're in front of that.
Very interesting in terms of funding. So what do you think? Did they do a good job? I think we could be here at least, a couple more hours, and then we would need the alcohol. So anyhow, I guess we'll let you guys go. But hey, I just have a certificate of appreciation. Tim, I wanted to give you one as well. Thank you so much. Just a little sheepskin here. Thank you for your participation. Teresa, thank you. Todd, that's for you.
Thank you.
Natalie, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. You know we're good, but you just gotta keep asking. Okay, one
Is
more
it possible
question.
to get contact information for these wonderful folks?
Yeah.